Welcome to Bengals on the Brain. I'm Joe Goodberry, part of the Cincinnati Bengals Talk YouTube network, and your Bengals have won their seventh straight game. That's hard to believe, right? Is it seven? It is, yeah, because I saw the only two AFC teams with really the heaviest streak right now are the Bengals and Bills, which we will get to. Bills are at 6, Bengals are at 7. Cincinnati holds on, is a good way, comes through at the end against the New England Patriots to win 22-18 in a very weird game because Bengals had 22-0 at halftime, and I think everyone would have called it a dominant performance at that point. I mean, the offense had very little resistance from the Patriots, I think, in the first few drives, especially the first one. The first one was as good of an opening drive as they've had. I mean, it just looked like the Pats were disinterested. The Gillette Stadium was quiet and dead. There was boos for Mac Jones in the offense on the New England side at halftime. For that game to get weird, and it's funny, I've talked to some Buffalo people that are watching this game now, and one guy even at halftime goes, how did this game get close? And I go, a bunch of weird things happen. And you get the pick six on a miscommunication between Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, which we've talked about their connection. How often have we seen a miscommunication between those two? Once, twice, ever? And you get one here and it sparks the Patriots a little bit. You end up having Tyler Boyd stop on a route that turned into an interception. I don't know what happened there. Weird things there. You wonder if Boyd's protecting his hand a little bit or just misreads things. I think there's a lot of, as you get these guys together now at year 3 of a lot of these players together, especially Burrow and Boyd, you kind of read things the same, but if you don't, the trust factor is so high that you assume he sees it the way you do, and you just go with it. And if he's not there, then that's how those plays happen. So that got weird, and then you get was it a fumble, was it not a fumble from Mac Jones? Jermaine Pratt returns it all the way. Obviously can't advance if they're going to say he's down, but then they challenge it. It looks like a fumble to me, clearly. It looks like it's slips out of his hands and he just knocks it forward with his forearm. So that leads directly to a Hail Mary type touchdown. How does that happen, right? So just a bunch of weird plays. Jamar Chase fumble, where the Bengals are normally very good in those situations. We've talked about that in plenty of previous weeks where they can run out the clock. They'll get the ball and that'll be the last time you see it. You're not getting the ball back if you fail to take the lead with your last possession, if you're settling for field goals or whatever the case may be. Once the Bengals get the ball back, they normally do not give it up. And Jamar Chase fumbled. And it was a good play by the Patriots. Matt Judon sees it, jumps back into coverage, knocks it out. Just, it is what it is. But then the Bengals have to step up, make a play at the end. B.J. Hill and Von Bell. B.J. Hill with the recovery, Von Bell with the punch out. I don't know how they keep doing it. I mean, it's a mark of a good team. Now, we have said this now, I feel like, for 4 straight weeks of different things. Depth coming up and making plays at the end on offense, making plays at the end on defense. Marks of good teams, right? And it's still weird to say, but we're going to focus, I think, this week on a couple of things because going forward, 2 players that I think one has come back from injury, so they're both going to center around injury. One, he has come back from injury, and I think he's picked up exactly where he left off. The Bengals really missed him in the middle part of the year. They found a way to get through it, and that's, again, the theme of injuries this year because they've had much more injuries than they have in the past year. Last year they're relatively healthy. The way they've overcome, the way they figured out how to adjust is going to be key. But DJ Reader, I want to start with him. I want to go over his plays, look at his impact on the entire defense and how it frees everyone up, man. You see plays by Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt, Jesse Bates. All 3 have been really good against the run. B.J. Hill as well. And it starts with DJ Reader just really being an all-pro player. And then we're going to go on to the other injury on the offensive side that is really the first out for the year of injured player on the offensive side. We got to have that with Chidobe Awuzie. We've looked at how Cam Taylor-Britt has stepped into that role. Now we're losing La'el Collins for the year. What do the Bengals do to adjust? How maybe, I think there is something they could get better at, or I'm saying Hakeem Adeniji could provide maybe something that La'el Collins couldn't. but I also think you're going to miss something that La'el Collins brought to the table that I just don't think Hakeem Adeniji has in his tool bag. And so we'll go over those. So first we'll start with DJ Reader. Then we'll move to Hakeem Adeniji. How did he play? What do I see for his future? And let's start with the defensive side. And maybe the second best player on the team this year in defensive tackle, nose tackle. Maybe the best nose tackle. Top 3 nose tackle in the league. DJ Reader. Some of you may have taken a bit of offense to the top 3 for DJ Reader, because I think we like to say this guy's the best in the league. I think it's okay to say if a guy is a top 3, 5, even top 8 type. Nose tackle is different. There's not that many truly elite guys. I think Dexter Lawrence for the Giants. I think Derek Brown for the Panthers are in the class with DJ Reader as best nose tackles in the league. Reader having, I believe, a career year, and mostly it's because he's added that little bit to his pass rush game. I don't know how. There really were no flashes of it being a high-level pass rusher in previous years. He's finding a way to consistently win at this juncture in his career, which is really impressive. If you look at PFF, he's got an 88 grade for the season. That is the highest he's had in his career, and a really strong career. It's a pretty good average throughout his career. What, 70, 75. He's at an 80 before. Now he's at an 88. Really strong year for DJ Reader. He's a nose tackle. What does that mean? Normally you're lined up over the center, maybe over the center's shoulder, and all the way to the gap between the center and the guard. That's a 0-1-2 technique for the defensive tackle, and that's usually where he plays. The Bengals will do some different things and kick him out in their 3-4 defense. Sometimes put him over the guard completely, and even more a little bit outside at maybe like a 3 technique. And they've done that a few times with good effect. I don't think I have a play here to show that, but he has the versatility to move within the interior defensive tackle spots. He's not just a nose tackle, even though I think that's where he provides the most value. Because a lot of times if you can control that center, you're going to push the point of attack, you're going to grab the attention of the guards, you're going to take on 2 guys, which I think the offense wants to put 2 guys on you when you're a nose tackle, especially when you're a space eater and a guy that can push a center backwards. Center's normally the smallest guy in the offensive line, so a Reader's going to push that guy backwards. You're going to put the guard on to help them, but what that means is if Reader does his job and if he's that powerful and that strong and that stout at the point of attack, the linebackers are going to be able to shoot their gaps. They're going to be able to run freely. They're going to be able to chase down and track down and hunt these running backs without having to deal with an offensive lineman coming up into the second level and getting hands on them. So Reader is a space eater by definition, but he's also has enough agility and acceleration and balance. I think the balance is the key. We highlighted a bunch of plays earlier this year where he is, I wouldn't say losing the rep, but he is getting knocked off balance, which is going to happen. Say you take a guy one-on-one and then a guard comes up and blasts you from the side. To be able to readjust, get your feet back under you, be strong enough to do that, but athletic enough to do that, that's the combination you need. When you can do that and then shed a guy, stack them, lock them out, and then shed them, keep your eyes in the backfield this whole time doing this. Get your eyes on the running back, know where the ball is going, where it's flowing. You almost never see Reader lose the ball carrier or lose the ball. That just doesn't happen in all the film I've watched of him over the last 3 years. It just is not a thing that happens ever at all, and I think that's huge. I mean, if you go back even just a few years when it was Andrew Billings. Billings was 6 foot at nose tackle, and they tried to play him more at the B gap too. But because of that height disadvantage for Billings, he lost track of the ball carrier plenty of times, and it was something that affected him because you could tie up a running lane, and if you don't see where the ball carrier is, you're not really helping out that much. He had such a short tackle radius. That is not an issue with DJ Reader. He engulfs guys that try to run right off his side. Say he's, locking up a guard in a gap and the running back's trying to get through there. The running back may try to squeeze between that guard and tackle or that guard and center, and Reader is engaged with that offensive lineman. He will very often be able to disengage, get one arm out there, wrap the guy up, and then everyone else comes in and cleans up the tackle. But he had the initial contact, the initial point to slow down the running back. And I think that's key. So that's why he is a little bit different than past nose tackles the Bengals have had. Even going back, if you're an older guy like me, all the way back to Domata Peko. I know we're not going all the way back, guys. We can go back to Tim Krumrie or things like that. I didn't watch him play like that. But Domata Peko, a space eater that was powerful and smart, didn't have the burst, right? He was agile enough to cause some problems, but he didn't have that burst and explosion, lower half explosion that really just knocks guys off balance with instant contact. And I think that's what DJ Reader does very, very well, and why I think he's a fundamental piece to this defense. I think the Bengals have a couple guys on defense that are like, once he is doing his job or playing his role, they become a tilter for everyone else. Is that the right what I'm trying to say here? They tilt the defense for everyone else. They tilt the advantage back to the defense. They're apex defenders. I'm finally getting to it. Because when you have DJ Reader and he can do the job of two people almost, you don't need to bring that safety into the box. You can stay in nickel, and the Bengals will stay in nickel and defend the run. And I think Jesse Bates is the other one. I know he's not having a career year, but I think he's still having this type of impact for what I'm defining, because he has so much range that you can bring Von Bell into the box and it doesn't affect you on the back half. But Reader does that up front. He's really making these linebackers look really, really good. Not saying they're not good. They're very good. Two young, athletic, good in coverage linebackers is everything we've always asked for. I think it starts with Reader, and it's why I wanted to focus on him today. I think he's having an all-pro year, and I hope the rest of the league recognizes it. And the Bengals got hit with the injury bug for the first time in a major way. And yeah, losing Jamar Chase, losing T. Higgins, losing Joe Mixon for stretches. Nothing has happened yet on the offensive line, and knock on wood that it ends here. But La'el Collins tore his ACL and MCL. I was feared that it was just a dislocated kneecap, and then the reports or the images of the MRI said that he did, in fact, tear the ligaments in his knee that requires surgery. And long term, I think we have to look at that as well, because we're talking 8 to 10 months of recovery. They say 7, but we've seen this before. And La'el Collins hasn't been bouncing back from injuries stemming back from his days with the Dallas Cowboys, which is why he got the contract he got with the Bengals, where he really isn't guaranteed any money at all, and he's being paid as a mercenary offensive lineman for, if he's going to play 10 games, he gets paid for 10 games. That's it. The Bengals could cut him with very little impact at all. And so it's something to monitor. But how do they get through this year? We saw this past game against the Pats, they slid in Hakeem Adeniji, which is great. That's someone you've drafted, you've developed. They've played him mostly at guard until this point. 777 snaps at right guard last year in the Bengals Super Bowl run. He was a weak link, right? We knew at that point he is not a guard. We've seen enough at that point. I want to say PFF had him at like a 38 pass protection at guard last year. Just was not good. This year he's been the extra offensive tackle or the extra offensive lineman in heavy packages when they want to run the ball with the 6 offensive linemen. I thought he's done very well doing that. He's played a little bit when Jonah got banged around with that knee against the Ravens early in the season, and I thought he was fine there. They got through a game again with La'el Collins going down multiple times. Collins has been banged up, and they got through games with Adeniji, but they did this week as well. PFF didn't love Adeniji this week. He played 64 snaps. I didn't know that. I'm looking at it right now. It was like 64. I feel like this game was at the halfway point, but they gave him a 43 overall with a 20 in pass protection. I think that's something that raised a lot of eyebrows from people. They charged him with 5 pressures against the New England Patriots, and it didn't feel like that on the live viewing. When you go back and you watch the tape, you say, okay, I see what they saw. I see the handful of issues that separate Hakeem Adeniji from La'el Collins. Now, first, what does La'el Collins offer? I think he's, at this point, a liability in terms of extending plays when Burrow wants to make things happen. Collins just can't move and he can't stay with guys. I focused on a couple plays of him a couple weeks ago to show that. But he's still a powerful run blocker. I think the communication issues were ironed out from earlier in the year, and they really weren't having those anymore. And Collins is a veteran, so that makes sense. A veteran that's been in Frank Pollock's system before, so that makes sense why he cleaned those up really quickly. We'll have to see if Adeniji, who they say is a smart guy, if they have any issues there, because you're just inserting a new player, right? So we'll see how that goes. I know Adeniji has been practicing a lot when La'el Collins cannot. So maybe that chemistry is already there for a guy that's played a good amount of snaps in his career now. He's, like I said, 777 at right guard, 324 at offensive tackle. I think what you're losing is the power of La'el Collins when you insert Hakeem Adeniji. Adeniji is one of the smaller. Now the Bengals have two smaller offensive tackles starting for them, Jonah Williams and Hakeem Adeniji at 6'4", 305. Maybe he's gained weight since then. There was reports he was up to 315 a couple years ago when he was playing guard. We'll see if he can still carry that. Either way, that is on the smaller side for an offensive tackle. He did have some good agility and burst numbers coming out of Kansas, and we'll see if he still has that. And I think that is the advantage now. When I watched him this week against the Pats, I thought he looked more agile. I thought his feet looked good. And this is in terms of him where he looked like last year at guard. I thought he looked more fluid at tackle, but I also thought he looked more fluid in comparison to La'el Collins. So those are good things. Those are things you could probably upgrade on, where Collins is diving into the ground and trying to fend off rushers for as long as he can from hitting Joe Burrow. It doesn't give Burrow the opportunity to keep plays alive and extend plays. One of his superpowers that we want Burrow to be able to do. Adeniji may give them that because he's not going to end up on his face as much as La'el Collins is going to. Now, what does that mean? Does the power affect you that much? How much of a downgrade is it? I think the running game could definitely be downgraded because of I think there was plenty of games where La'el Collins was their best run blocker at right tackle. And while I think Adeniji is okay there, I think losing that power as a guy at the point of attack, and then now as the extra offensive lineman, Max Sharping slides into that sixth offensive lineman role. He had 2 key penalties this week. We'll see if he can get those ironed out in the communication issues, and he can get more comfortable in that role so he can help the team when they want to go heavy. But Adeniji, can he be okay without being a power right tackle? I thought Matt Judon went right at him with power. I think this week against the Bills with Gregory Rousseau, just an absolute freak. Tall, big, strong, power rusher. Is he going to be able to have his way with Adeniji and that lack of strength at the right tackle spot for the Bengals? That is going to be something we have to watch for. It's going to be something I'm going to be very interested in. Can they get through the year? Of course they can. They have found a way to get through the year with injuries all season long. And I still think this offensive line is better than last year's unit, even with Adeniji at right tackle now. So that's this week's episode of Bengals on the Brain. I am Joe Goodberry. Follow me on Twitter at Joe Goodberry, where there'll be a lot more specific film clips added there because the film is coming out a little bit late with Christmas and the holiday season. And Merry Christmas to you. I should have said that at the beginning. If you celebrate, happy holidays as well. And the Bengals-Bills, big game. I will be there. I want to say that because I want people to come up and see me. I will post where I'm at. If you want to come talk, let's talk football. Let's talk Bills, Bengals. Let's talk whatever you want to talk about. And come introduce yourself. Don't be a stranger. Don't be afraid. That's what I'm there for. I want to talk to people. I want to see these people. I want to meet you face to face and shake your hand. Tell me your name, though, because a lot of people say, hi, I enjoy following you, and then they just walk away. And I'm like, I'd like to know who you are. So come say hi. This is Bengals on the Brain with Joe Goodberry, and we're going to probably be posting next week a little bit later as I drive back home after a Monday night game. So, follow us on Twitter and all that. We'll probably update you on there if you're looking for it on Tuesday night. Probably going to be a tight squeeze to get that back in there, but man, number 1 seed on the line, potentially. You need the Chiefs to drop one Monday night versus the Bills. I'm excited for that. It's a big game. How many times are these games when the schedule comes out, we're like, yeah, it's going to be a great one at the end of the year. And how many times is it actually? This one is. Big regular season showdown. The winner is going to have the home game. Probably, unless something happens week 18. But the winner, if things go the way they've been going, the winner of the Bengals-Bills will host the other team more than likely at some point in the playoffs. And that's key. I'd rather that game be in Cincinnati than Buffalo. So, Buffalo's a tough place to play. We know that. I'm rambling now, but 7 in a row. We got a chance here. Can't wait. Big game Monday. We'll see you there.